Hey, greetings everyone, it's GleeCon, and I'm back again, bringing you another episode of Lore of Warcraft. Thank you for tuning in. You rock, and I know you rock because you've picked to spend your time on probably my personal favorite show out there about World of Warcraft on YouTube. Um, on the last episode of this show, we played through Hillsbrad Foothills some more as a Horde character. We're getting very close to ending the zone, to wrapping up the battle against Hillsbrad. Meanwhile, we are working on concocting some poison. So we killed some miners, kind of soloed our way in as a warlock. And now we are working along the shore, killing Naga and Murloc to get the final ingredients for a potion. And on the next episode, we should be able to bring the whole thing together, tie it in a bow with some elite murdering of dwarves, which is only fair because the dwarves that were secretly allied with the humans in the mine came in and nerfed my butt. Not nerfed it, nuked it. They nuked my butt, and that was as dirty and unpleasant as it sounded. We've also been reading through the World of Warcraft Official Magazine, which is a now defunct publication from the 2009-2010 era, right as Cataclysm was dropping. And we talk about all kinds of things. On the last episode, we read an interview with the people that make the cinematics. We talked about BlizzCon itself, and it's all cool because, you know, everything in life ebbs and flows and is so cyclical. And now, you know, we're coming on the heels of BlizzCon right now. We recently read an article about how they make the McFarlane action figures, which are super cool. And I just saw an ad on the deck of BattleNet for McFarlane Toys action figures for World of Warcraft. They're still cranking out new generations. Just watched the interview for Season of Discovery or Mystery or Discovery as we talk about it on the show, and we get pumped up for just playing Classic. I don't know how I'm going to address that exactly, but I am looking forward to playing the Season of Discovery, just like you guys. So, on this particular episode, if you want to stay a little while more and listen, we're going to read about some lore. The lore of the worgen, I believe, which, oh my gosh, I love the lore. It's my favorite thing about World of Warcraft. And I love worgen, my favorite race. So this is right up my alley in this article called Lore Corner, Questions and Answers about the Histories and Mysteries of Azeroth. Azeroth is a big place. Over the years, the Warcraft story has unfolded through a number of different outlets, including the original real-time strategy games, novels, comic books, and more. It's hard to keep track of everything. Don't we know it? 1,200 episodes in, and we're not even close. Ever wonder what the connection between Worgen and Gilneas is, or where the troll druids came from? We journey into the archives with Blizzard Entertainment's Lore Keepers to find the answer to these questions and more. Here's what we discovered. By the way, anybody affiliated with anyone at Blizzard, if you catch this, I'd love an application to be a lore keeper for Blizzard. I'll do it pro bono, but I'll take a paycheck as well. I'll gladly just walk and leave my professional career behind. Please sign me up. Yeah, just asking for, not for a friend. Nope, just asking for myself. Please. Yes, thank you. What's the story with Worgen and Gilneas? Why are the Worgen there and not elsewhere in Azeroth? Well, caveat, they are in a couple other places. For instance, you can find them in Ashenvale. So, and I think we know a little more about that. You have to go back a bit to fully grasp what is happening with Gilneas and the Worgen. The Worgen are essentially the result of druidic experimentation, as we read in Chronicles. Thousands of years ago, druids were a much more free-form and experimental group. Today, druids focus on a limited number of forms, but back then, druids would try just about any form to see what was useful. One of these experiments led to the wolf-like pack form, though the druids quickly learned that the form was highly unstable. Druids of the pack were ferocious, filled with rage, and had a tendency to turn even on their own kind. Once this was discovered, Night Elf leader Malfurion Stormrage called a halt to use of the form. However, the Night Elves were involved in the War of the Satyr, fighting against satyrs and other demons from the Burning Legion, and the War of the Ancients. An offshoot group continued to work with the pack form, trying to smooth the rough edges by teaming with a priestess of Elune, thinking that the form was the only way to defeat the satyrs. This tempering caused them not to become full wolves, but half night elf, half wolf, and thus the worgen were born. Unfortunately, all-consuming rage filled those who adopted this form. Malfurion decided to banish the worgen to the Emerald Dream, where they could find a measure of peace. And in-game, like when you're doing Shadowfang Keep and stuff like that, you read about some of this lore. But you can read while you're doing that they think that they're trapped in the Twisted Nether, or they're coming from, the Beyond, wherever the Burning Legion comes from. And in fact, we can see here that they are really coming from the Emerald Dream. And that was where they resided, mostly forgotten, until the Scourge marched on Azeroth. The kingdom of Gilneas, led by Gen Greymane, built a wall in an attempt to keep the Scourge out, but they knew that eventually Gilneas would be overrun. Greymane, desperate to save the kingdom, turned to Archmage Erigol, asking him to find a way to defeat the Scourge, and also saying, hey dude, go ahead and set yourself up in a keep here, because you're going to become a permanent boss of dungeons. Erigol consulted the research of the mage and found a way to summon extra-dimensional beings to Azeroth, and though Erigol didn't fully understand it at the time, he had found a way to bring the worgen back from the Emerald Dream. Greymane gave his approval. This sounds a great idea. Please do. Erigol summoned the worgen, and they proceeded to obliterate the Scourge. Yeah. However, the worgen didn't just go away once the Scourge were taken care of. They quickly turned on the Gilneans, who tried to get back behind the wall and close the gate again. Not everyone made it, and some who did were bit by the worgen, dooming them to transform into worgen themselves. So this wasn't widely known, and was often dismissed by Gilnean citizens as crazy talk from traumatized soldiers. But as we know, it's true, and some of those bitten play an important role in the story that players experience in Cataclysm. And that really is basically catching us up to official canon in what we've read in Chronicles, minus maybe just the slightest wrinkle or so, but that's essentially how it is. That's a pretty cool picture. I think that might be Gen Greymane, but it might just be a bad behind looking wolf. He's got a gun. Maybe that's a staff, so he's probably a hunter if I had to guess. Cool claws, armored. Oh man, just dope. Just dope. It's like if my husky was not a cowardly idiot, but was cool and serious. The only commonality is the wolf-like appearance and looking cool. The teachings of Bishop Nadli Selim. After the First War, a bishop from Lordaeron began to delve into the workings of the Orc Necrolytes who had poured through the Dark Portal and desecrated their hallowed dead. While at first this was done in order to provide Azeroth with the knowledge it needed to fight against such dark magic, the bishop's studies over the years became increasingly obsessed with finding out why such dark energies existed at all, and why she began to see the ebb and flow of such energies in the world around her. She began preaching about the necessity of balance between dark and light, but after her death, her books were locked away in the Kirin Tor's vaults in Dalaran. Okay. Interesting. So we essentially are getting maybe... I see. We're just kind of going bang, bang, bang. I was just about to say maybe this is Shadow Priest. So that is what it is. So we're just going to do a page or so on each, probably, of these different... This is a lore corner, not just about worgen, but about all kinds of things. So this is explaining what's the deal with the Shadow Priests. Why? While many priests draw on powers such as the Holy Light or the Goddess Elune, Shadow Priests turn to dark energies to accomplish their goals. The Cult of the Forgotten Shadow, a group considered heretical by most, believes that dark energy practitioners are just as vital to the survival of life and reality, which they call the Shadow, as wielders of the light. And as the very cool image from Chronicles and that circulates online shows, you have the different spheres of the kind of overall ordering of the cosmos and of just existence for World of Warcraft. And everything has its opposite, and there's this constant dynamic tension going on. And it's what the whole conceit behind the world of Warcraft is that the life and beauty and fun of the game comes from every force having an opposite that it's at war with. The light is, of course, going in the opposite against the shadow, except that The shadow, another way that you can think of it, is life versus reality. The cult preaches balance, mandating that shadow priests must never forget the dangers of falling too deep into the dark energies they manipulate, for it is often too hard to find one's ways back to the shadow from the deep reaches of the darkness. The cult was created through the rediscovery of the teachings of Bishop Natalie Celine by Forsaken priests in Lordaeron after the capture and refurbishing of the Undercity. Shadow priests generally do not practice openly unless they're in your instance party, and not all members are Forsaken, although they formed the cult. Within the last few years, the number of non-Forsaken and non-Horde members within the cult has grown sharply. Heck, that's what Callie Menifil is in the way we play her. Have there always been troll druids? If so, where were they hiding? Troll druids are cool. I like their skins. What's a Loa? Well, Loa are spirits that grant the faithful extraordinary powers, though they are not as powerful as full-blown gods. Different troll tribes may call upon different sets of Loa. In a sense, they're exactly the same as the whatever they call them, aspects or whatever that the Night Elves worship. That the demigods, basically, they're if not the exact same thing, they're very similar. In my mind, I see them as exactly the same. They're basically the same thing as Aviana is. There haven't always been troll druids, but they have been in hiding for a little while. It all starts, not surprisingly, with Zalazane. Zalazane was a gifted witch doctor who covertly attempted darker rituals in an attempt to prove himself. He was not prepared to handle these rituals, and eventually went mad, using dark voodoo to rob the Darkspear trolls of their free will and bolster his forces. Fearing that all the tribe would fall under Zalazane's influence, Vol'jin ordered the Darkspear tribe to abandon the Echo Isles. The tribe's priests and witch doctors at the time grew ever weaker as Zalazane's voodoo spread and severed their connections to their Loa. By the time Vol'jin made the decision to abandon the Isles, many priests and witch doctors had already fallen under Zalazane's power, and many that had not were physically cut off from the main body of the Darkspear tribe. Led by Zentabra, these priests and witch doctors moved to the untamed southern Echo Isles. The few dozen trolls were easy prey for the jungle's predators that first night. Zentabra, despite the anxiety and stress consuming her, fell into a deep slumber. When she awoke, she gazed upon a completely different jungle, one of immense and forgotten flora tinged with a green haze of magic unfamiliar to her. She had been called to the Emerald Dream. Again, these constant ties, and now the current Dragonflight, were just all about that Emerald Dream again. So it's always been something very important to the game. The summons came from an ancient raptor Loa named Gonk, the Great Hunter. Gonk explained that he and some of the other Loa had become trapped in this part of the Emerald Dream due to Zalazane's magic. To make matters worse, Zalazane's mindless minions had begun to slaughter the beasts of the islands, further infuriating the Loa. To combat this, Gonk had devised a solution. Since the voodoo limited the amount of power that could be drawn from a single spirit at a time, he and the other Loa would teach the trolls to draw strength from all the spirits of the world and the Emerald Dream, a practice referred to as Druidism. The other Loa were less than pleased with losing their worshippers, and it became clear in the following months of training that Gonk had somehow tricked them into agreeing to this arrangement. Ultimately, it served everyone involved well. The trolls gained the power to protect themselves and live under the nose of Zalazane with their new powers, while also protecting the beasts of the islands as the Loa requested. Zalazane proved too powerful to overthrow directly, however, so they were forced to bide their time until Vol'jin and the rest of the Horde finally came to retake the Echo Isles. If you create a troll druid in Cataclysm, Zentabra will fill you in on the story of the troll druids. Very cool. All right, now we have a feature. I'm guessing this woman that we're looking at here is someone we're going to interview. Yeah, her name is Sarah Pine, from player to lore master. How Sarah Pine went from healing tanks to writing about Garrosh Hellscream. Until last year, Sarah Pine was just another resto druid on the Dragonblight US realm, an avid player who enjoyed healing tanks and guild raids once or twice a week, while she worked on her master's thesis in vertebrate paleontology, yes, dinosaurs, at the University of Oklahoma. In April of 2009, though, Sarah would respond to a forum post that would catapult her from everyday player to the role of guest writer for one of World of Warcraft's most controversial NPCs. Sarah is a longtime member of the live journal community WoW Ladies, one of the largest World of Warcraft communities online. In March of last year, a member posted a link to a Blizzard creative writing contest. Submit a 2,500 to 7,500 word short story written in English and set in one of the Warcraft, StarCraft, or Diablo universes. and maybe win some sweet gear and a trip to Southern California to meet the Blizzard creative team. Oh man, that would be so dope. I would do this for sure. Sarah didn't consider herself a writer other than a high school class in creative writing. She'd had no formal training. It's about the same as me. But as a child, she composed story outlines and character sketches, and as a regular player, she'd spent a great deal of time thinking about World of Warcraft lore. It sounded like fun, and Sarah began to work on a story. A lot of the storyline in World of Warcraft, from my perspective, revolves around atonement for past sins, and around the races finding their place in Azeroth, Sarah says. It's a cool blood elf priest, maybe? Paladin. The story Sarah wrote for the contest reflects this psychological focus. In the main scene of In the Shadow of the Sun, the de facto leader of the Blood Elves at Silvermoon, Lorthamar, visits Renthar Hawkspear and Aurora Skyfaller at the Quel'Lithian Lodge in the foothills of the Plaguelands. Much of the scene is written in sharp, tense dialogue, bowstring stretch, where it quickly becomes apparent that the Blood Elves' abandonment of the High Elves is not something easily forgiven. Lorthamar escapes with his life, but not without regrets. Soon after, Sarah turned in her story about Lorthamar. She heard that the contest had received over 1,800 entries. She didn't think much about her chances of winning. She was just happy to have completed a piece of fiction. Meanwhile, the contest sponsors were blitzed. Mickey Nielsen, publishing group lead, says it took us by surprise. We had like 2,000 entries in only a month to read them. We had to recruit a whole staff of volunteers to do an initial read-through. The amazing thing was when we finally got through them all and sat down to discuss the stories, Sarah's was at the top or near the top of all of our lists. The decision to choose her story as the winner was unanimous. Director of Creative Development Jeff Denai came up with the idea of a creative writing contest as a way to engage the World of Warcraft community and give members a chance to contribute to the story behind the World of Warcraft universe. The idea that they might uncover a new talent was an afterthought. Meanwhile, back in Oklahoma, Sarah was getting a phone call from her friend Jeremy O'Brien, her housemate in college, who had introduced her to World of Warcraft, telling her that she was the winner. Best phone call ever, Sarah says. This could easily have been the end of the story. Sarah's epic tale, proudly displayed on the Blizzard website, a sweet Frostmourne replica sword mounted on her wall, and a weekend trip to sunny California. Something about Sarah's writing stuck with the folks at Blizzard, though. James Waugh, senior story developer, says, "We thought about bringing in a big-name writer for our next project, but it can take months to explain the characters and world to them. Sarah's story showed a clear passion and understanding of the internal motivations that drive the World of Warcraft races, plus her characters just pop on the page." The team decided to bring Sarah in. In December of last year, Tommy Newcomer, associate publisher, made the phone call inviting Sarah to work with Blizzard further. Her assignment, write another short story for the website, this time starring Garrosh Hellscream. "I cannot describe how much this floored me," Sarah says. "I was thrilled to death to be asked, but also incredibly intimidated, mostly because Garrosh was and remains such an unpopular and controversial character. If you watch the trailer that was released for the Secrets of Ulduar update, Garrosh is a jerk. He's undiplomatic, he makes ridiculous demands, he insults people. From a player point of view, Garrosh makes it hard to defend the position of the Horde." It's true. Yeah, it's a good point. Mickey and James agreed that it was a tough assignment. Mickey says part of the reason we chose Sarah was because of how divided the community is over Garrosh. People either love him or hate him, James adds. It seemed like Sarah had the ability to get into the complexity of Garrosh's character. Part of the problem with Garrosh is that people don't understand his motivation. We thought Sarah could get into his head. In January, the publishing group flew Sarah out to Irvine to meet face-to-face and discuss the character. From there, she spent 4.5 months working on her story while tossing ideas back and forth with the publishing team. "I found writing Garrosh very, very challenging," Sarah says, "but eventually I hit on a story and structure I liked and gave my draft to publishing at the end of May. From what I understand, it has been well received, which is a huge relief. We'll see how the players like it." Mickey concurs that his team's work with Sarah was a success. "We were lucky to find her. Besides being an amazing talent, Sarah was a delightful person, beaming, funny, smart. We hope to find more like her in future writing contests." What advice do Mickey and James have for aspiring lore masters who would like to follow in Sarah's footsteps? According to Mickey, you want readers to feel an emotional connection to the characters. When you reread your work, ask yourself, do I care what happens to these people? James adds, show us something new about humanity. Sarah's encore. Sarah's story about Garrosh Hellscream, Heart of War, can be found at the World of Warcraft website, and we will read it, I'm sure, because that makes it official canon. That's cool. Lorthamar felt his heart sink like a stone to the pit of his stomach. He swallowed and hoped his face did not appear as pale as it felt. The following is an excerpt from In the Shadow of the Sun, Sarah's winning entry. So this is cool. We're going to get to read a page of this story. Lortharon, there is a person of some importance waiting to see you. Lorthamar frowned. Halduran and Rawmath would have come themselves, and Aethys probably too at this point. Had Liadrin returned from Shatrith? So she could wait. I am not available, he replied flatly. My lord, said the courier, the Banshee Queen will not wait. Lorthamar felt his heart sink like a stone to the pit of his stomach. He swallowed and hoped his face did not appear as pale as it felt. He rose to his feet. No, he said quietly. Of course she won't. Show me to her. The courier turned on his heel, but not without one uneasy glance at the regent lord. Lorthamar steeled himself as he followed. He took the minutes that they spent walking to the front hall to collect himself, to remember his presentation. During the years he had now spent ruling Quel'Thalas, he had found it to be very nearly a physical action, the way he had to draw the mantle of authority about himself. He could feel the change right down to the tips of his fingers. It had gotten easier, of course, as time had passed. But where Sylvanas was concerned, it seemed all his careful diplomacy and guarded authority shrank and failed before the force of her presence. Halduran and Rawmath joined him silently as he walked the hallway, and this time Halduran did not try to convince Lorthamar to wear the Sunstrider tabard. The Ranger General wore a hard face. Rawmath was more detached. He had met Sylvanas before and knew what to expect, but his horror was distant and impersonal. Unlike Lorthamar and Halduran's, to them, Sylvanas' fate was a wound ripped raw again every time they looked upon her, and its pain had yet to dull. In the hall where she stood, the light seemed to fade. It was not that it dimmed or dulled, but that it collapsed and sunk into the space she occupied, coalescing instead into her eyes. Not blue like the Quel'Darai she had once been, or even green like the Cinderai, but red like the flame of a funeral pyre. Their glow threw the pallid skin of her pinched face into even more horrific relief. She did not come alone, of course. A number of what Lorthamar assumed were royal dreadguards accompanied her, their blackened blades no less cruel for their condition. They awaited him in silence. All Lorthamar could hear as he walked into the hall was the echo of his own footsteps, and even that seemed to fade unnaturally quickly in the presence of the Banshee Queen. There was no point in showing her to the meeting hall as he had Aethys, no point in doing anything but addressing her as she stood. She had no patience for such formalities. What brings you to Silvermoon, Sylvanas? He asked. She fixed her gaze upon him. I have just returned from Orgrimmar, she said. Her voice scraped against the walls. As her mouth moved, Lorthamar could see the skin around it crack and peel like a snake's, as if it were made of brittle parchment. Arthas has dared to strike at the heart of the Horde. Lorthamar's mouth went dry, and a great tide of unease began to rise in his chest as he realized what was coming next. Sylvanas paused a moment, scrutinizing his face for a reaction. He clenched his teeth, but remained quiet. The attack was successfully repelled, she continued at length, but Arthas is only toying with us. We must bring the war to him. War Chief Thrall at last sees what we have long known. Her eyes glittered with a dangerous eagerness. The Horde prepares for war, and the Cinderai, Lorthamar, comprise a portion of the Horde. Her words fell upon him and clattered to the floor like stones. He knew what she was asking, had always known that this day would come, and yet, as he stood in the hall, suddenly conscious of how its grand space swept up and above him, swallowing his presence, he found himself unable to respond. Lorthamar, Sylvanas' words shattered around him in impatience. We go to destroy Arthas, once and for all. Slowly Lorthamar shook his head. I appreciate that you and War Chief Thrall wish us to join you on the initial front in Northrend, but we are stretched too thin. We have already received a similar request from the Kirin Tor, but I cannot in good faith send our forces north, since the events at Quel'Danas. This is not a request, Lorthamar, she interrupted. You will send troops. They will accompany the Forsaken. Oh, I miss reading stories with you guys. It's really a big part of how this show formed. And I like reading this, but it's fun. And we'll get back there because we've got more stories to read. But this is good stuff, good stuff. All right, so maybe we'll squeeze in one more article here. This is a picture of a troll squeezing someone's head. An orc. The play is the thing. From airplanes to ogre suits, here's how to have fun with the lighter side of Azeroth. Toys. It's all too easy to get so excited about beating bosses and taking their stuff that you forget about all of the trinkets, gizmos, and consumables that you can have fun with along the way. Almost everyone has a few just for fun items stowed in their bank that they've acquired from quests or vendors they've bumped into while playing. Whether your personal stash only has a couple leftover snowballs or is bursting at the seams with every item you've ever seen that seemed even the slightest bit funny, there are plenty more fun and funny items out there in Azeroth for you to collect and enjoy. You just have to get out there and find them. These sometimes silly, always entertaining knickknacks can be found just about everywhere in Azeroth, from starting zones to the corpse of the most powerful raid boss. Plenty are even earned through achievements, purchased from vendors or crafted with your own two hands. But no matter where they come from, toys like the Noggin Fogger Elixir, which can transform you into a skeleton, and Blix's eyesight-enhancing romance goggles, which make every other character in the game appear as female orcs. The gnome version is Belby's eyesight-enhancing romance goggles, are the perfect way to have fun, entertain other players, and inspire envy in your friends and foes. It's easy to spot a toy collector. They're the ones always pulling out a cool new pet, or drinking a potion that does something you've never seen before and frankly didn't even know was possible. They're the ones always entertaining friends in the capital cities and during raids. Sounds like something you might be interested in. If not, lighten up and read on anyway. Whether you're looking to liven up your raid, turn heads at the auction house, or have some mischievous fun entertaining bystanders, clear out some bag space, your backpack's about to become a toy chest. And one of the best things they ever did was to just change toys into a tab, and you don't even have to take bag space. Similar with mounts. Here's some interesting characters. The Murloc suit. I have the toy that lets you become the Earthen. I have that, or the Dark Iron, or the Iron Dwarf, or whatever that's called. I don't know that I have this other stuff. This looks like a Wolvar ogre suit. The Gnome in the Mirror. First things first. If you want to become the life of the party, you're going to have to start by revamping your character's looks. You're not going to be stabbing the amusement into your guildmates, so consider trading in those deadly daggers and pragmatic shoulder pads for some totally impractical yet stylish clothes. Tailors can craft all manner of fashionable get-ups from tuxedos to ball gowns, but the holidays offer some of the most eye-catching clothing options. And there's no flashier holiday suit than the Midsummer Reveler set, which lights your character's extremities on fire and makes him or her dance. If that sounds a bit too wild for your taste, Noble Garden might have a better option for you. That set's earthy robes, flower bouquet, and bunny ears won't burn your eyebrows off, and will still put a few tricks up your sleeves, like letting your place bunny ears on other players, plant flowers, and turn other players into rabbits. Frontline entertainer. Of course you can't always afford to leave your armor behind. Between raid nights and downtime in battlegrounds, the true toy collector is always prepared to entertain the troops between waves of enemies. And don't underestimate the power of high morale in battle. Something as simple as turning your soft-spoken gnome into a massive belly-dancing ogre could inspire your friends to great acts of heroism, even if it doesn't. At least you all had a good laugh together before your trip to the graveyard. All you need to pull off that particular inspirational transformation is an old-school Gordok ogre suit. Yeah, you can get that in Dire Maul. Crafted by tailors and leather workers from a recipe learned in the Dire Maul dungeon in Feralis, the suit turns you into a huge ogre for 10 minutes with all the animations and emotes befitting your new bruiser body. So it already exists out there, the ability to have ogre characters. These suits can be given to friends and are particularly great for use en masse during large-scale events like a guild race across the continent, or a group screenshot after defeating a major raid boss. Morp Send on the Moonguard US realm found a particularly fun use for the ogre suit. I formed a raid to get for the Horde achievement and made enough of the Gordrock suits for all 40 members to wear while raiding the Alliance's capital cities to kill each of the 5 leaders. It was totally worth it. Epic fun times. Sure, the ogre suits didn't technically make the players more powerful, but it's amazing how much fun something as simple as a costume can add to a group activity like raiding the other factions' capital cities. That is actually hilarious. I love it. Backup wardrobe. Of course, World of Warcraft lets you morph your character into a lot more than just ogres. Some other great ways to completely change your appearance are the Iron Boot Flask. I have that. A consumable purchased in Storm Peaks that turns you into an Iron Dwarf, and the Orb of the Cinderai, an item drop at the bosses in Magister's Terrace that gives you the appearance of a Blood Elf. Build your own collection. The quickest ways to fill out your first few toy bags. 1. The toy store. There's no easier way to get started than visiting the master of toys himself, Geppetto Joybuzz. You can find him in his shop, The Wonder Works in Central Dalaran, where he sells a sampling of what the wonderful world of gadgets has to offer, such as the Grind Gear Toy Gorilla. Befriend an alchemist. Players skilled in crafting magical potions from herbs, fish, and anything else they can liquefy are capable of brewing some incredible consumables that anyone can enjoy. Visit the auction house or hit up an alchemist friend who will share his or her recipe list with you to start sampling from their fun list, such as an elixir of giant growth. Participate in holidays. Just about every in-game holiday has some fun toys that can be earned by participating, whether by collecting tokens and tickets or by killing holiday bosses, such as the Brazier of Dancing Flames from Midsummer Festival. Become an engineer. Engineers make a few gizmos that anyone can use, but if you want to get the most out of this fun-oriented profession, you'll have to learn how to turn those gears yourself. Everything from pets to disguises to bunny rabbit decoys that explode when attacked can be crafted by skilled engineers, such as the World Enlarger, which is a shrinker, basically. Dress for fun. This is also the P-52 rocket helmet or whatever. It's pretty good. You got a foam sword, baby beholder, a cask, a little rocket bike. Yeah, the X-52 rocket helmet, I have that. Given to hardy adventurers who aid the starstruck goblins at Area 52 in Outland, this rocket helmet launches you into the air with a fiery blast and lets you safely float back to the ground. It's usable anywhere you can fly. Not true anymore. It's very limited where you can use it. Well, I might be mixing that up. Maybe not very limited, but it does have some limitations. But it's very useful for some specific oddball achievements. I highly recommend getting it if you are going to plan to try to get every achievement in the game. The foam sword rack. You won't poke somebody's eye out with these soft foam swords that can be used for child-friendly sword fighting. The first to 3 hits wins. Even better, the foam sword is, again, one of the only ways to get certain achievements. If you've over-leveled a zone and you one-shot things and you need to trigger certain responses from mobs that require them to be low life but not dead, foam swords are an essential. So again, for the achievement hunters out there, you must have a foam sword, if not the rack. Titanium Seal of Dalaran. Tough decision to make. The faltering fisherman can flip this quality coin for a heads or tails result after they fished up every coin from Dalaran's fountain. I have that as well. Crow's Apple. Join Crow's crusade to destroy the fruit vendor of Shaftrith by purchasing these apples from him and crushing them everywhere you can. Especially useful as a taunt in PvP. I don't think I know about that one. High-powered flashlight. Even the smallest gnome won't be ignored when the spotlight's on. Turn attention to yourself or someone else with engineering's brightest light. Elixir of Giant Growth. Bigger is better, especially when it comes with a strength buff like this potent potion from alchemists. Sleepy Willy. This cute little fella can be adopted from Chatrith's orphanage during Children's Week. He'll even fry up some critters for dinner. I do have him because you have to... Actually, if you want to get the meta one, it's the longest achievement in the game. A Children's Week achievement that makes you get every Children's Week thing, because you can only get one per year. If you started on Children's Week with your brand new attempt, it would take 2 full years from start to finish, because it takes 3 total Children's Weeks to accomplish this. Red Ribbon Pet Leash. This is an easy one to get. Dalaran's esteemed pet owner can give you all sorts of wonderful accessories to show off your pet, including this Scarlet Leash. Brewfest Pony Keg. Long raid nights can wear on a guild's morale, but if you've mastered Brewfest, you can cheer everyone up with some free drinks. Get everybody crunk. Blue Crash and Thrash and Racer Controller. Geppetto's own remote-controlled racer can crash and thrash with the best of them. Battle other players' racers anywhere in a makeshift demolition derby. There's all kinds of those you can get. The right toy for the job. So there's solo, PvP, raid party. Oh my gosh, we got a little bit more past this. So I don't even understand. If you're in town, just chilling, and it's nice here, romantic picnic basket, but you need new scenery, a large relic of Argus. In town, working it, Put the disco ball. Oops, that dance move is a bit too dirty. Okay. This is like a flow chart. Out and about questing. I'm fine. Need some pizza. Frenzy heart brew. Whoa, I need help. And that gives you the disco ball. So it turns you into a frenzy heart. Explore and gather. Keep others busy. Disgusting oozling. In PvP. Winning? Yes. Steamroll? How bad is it? Close? Need an edge? The depending tabard of the protector? Or crow's apple? No. Hide? Or comic relief? How bad is it? The life-giving seed? Super shaman sphere? Or orb of the Blackwell? You turn into a little baby dragon. Maybe? Orb of deception. They aren't buying it. So then you go back to the others. Raid party winning? No. We're not getting along. Foam sword. We're having fun. Brazier of dancing flame. Yes. Screenshot needed. Levity. Spring flower. Fewer players. Baby spice. More tunes. Archmage Vargoth staff. For the raid leader, keeping things organized and under control. Wow, my camera work was amazing on this page. Green smoke flares. Great for marking locations that players need to run to avoid share during a boss fight. The green variety is easiest to spot no matter which dungeon you're in. Or the, looks like maybe Fame Stone. Wind up train wrecker. Inevitably, some joker will pull out a train to disrupt your inauguration speech before the big fight. Shut it up quick with your robot wrecker. Turn off, or just turn off your sound. Focusing lens. Don't leave any room for error when explaining tactics before the fight. Use these harmless laser beams to point at whichever mob you're talking about, or a loon's candle. Decahedral dwarven dice, the unbiased addition to all loot related or personal arguments. Everyone gets a number range. You roll the dice, and whoever it lands on gets the loot. Worn troll dice, similar thing, or just roll. Baby spice, that joker's distracting your raid member with flashy costumes and effects again. A quick dose of baby spice will shrink the troublemaker down to a size that's easy to ignore. There's no lack of mysterious potions, food, and oils you can consume to alter your appearance. And destroy your lives, no doubt. The Noggenfogger elixir sold in Tanaris and savory deviant delights cooked by players are two of the most popular. Yeah, I can do the savory deviant delight. But you'll want to dig deeper if you really aim to surprise players with something new. Fish up magic eaters in Dalaran to turn yourself into all manner of weird animals, or chug some pygmy oils made by alchemists to turn yourself into a tribal gnome. Playtime. All right. So you're dressed up and ready to party, but now you need some toys that you can actually play with. You've got a lot of options. Feeling lonely? Pull out a romantic picnic basket, complete with red and white blanket, basket, and umbrella, and sit down at it. You'll receive a looking for love buff and will fall in love with any other character who joins you for a romantic meal. Yeah, you get an achievement for that if someone joins you too. Feeling lost? Pull out your unusual compass earned from Dalaran's fishing quest and use it to spin your character in a random direction. That is the exact direction destiny has determined you to travel in. Being mischievous? More interested in grossing out the other players around you? Why not pull out your disgusting oozling pet, which is so disturbing gross that it turns you a sickly shade of green. Oh. And while you're at it, toss some Dark Iron Ale or Blood Maul Brutebane Brew, purchased in Blackrock Depths and located from Ogres and Blade's Edge, respectively, on the ground. These place visible oversized mugs of brew on the ground, and the disgusting oozling will even slime its way over to drink the Dark Iron Ale mugs with an emote. I didn't know that. Another way to have fun with the people around you is to stock up on Happy Fun Rocks, looted in Dire Mall, heavy leather balls made by leather workers, rotund relics pickpocketed by rogues, and any of the other varied items that you can throw into other players' inventories. Find a few accomplices, and then all of you jump on your friends at the same time, hurling as many of these objects at them simultaneously as you can. Not only will it fill their inventory with toys, but the wave of objects flying at your friend is sure to turn a few heads and get some laughs. Okay, what is that? That's for next time. Another interview, maybe. Making your own friends. Maybe you chose the wrong target for your objects flying into your inventory prank and suddenly you find yourself down one friendship. No big deal. You got plenty of friends in your toy box to replace them. Consider the fabled Imp in a Ball, which summons a poor little imp crammed into a tiny ball that floats in front of your character. That's what we saw. That's what the art was. Answering any questions you ask it. Its response might be cryptic or laden in insults, but can you blame it? The thing is stuck in that tiny ball all day long. Don Carlos's famous hat dropped in Old Hills, Bad Foothills. That is a rare... Actually, is that a rare drop? Will not only make you look like a mariachi star, but will summon a ghost. I think it's that Don Carlos is rare. Wolf to follow you around. Not spooky enough? Check the auction house for a haunted memento. These items were only available for a limited time during the events surrounding the launch of Wrath of the Lich King and cause an untargetable ghost to haunt whoever's carrying it. That's pretty cool. This little star over here, more than one way to earn loot. In addition to all of the routes within World of Warcraft to collect the fun items discussed in this article, you can earn some sweet gadgets through the official World of Warcraft trading card game. Each booster pack has a chance to contain loot cards, which give you a code to enter on the website to unlock unique toys, consumables, and other awesome stuff within the game. Items only available through the trading card game will be noted with this icon next to their names in this article. The Imp in the Ball is one of them. Did we have any others that showed that? I don't know that I even see any others that had that. And this article is essentially over. So what was the dang point of that footnote? It's like, hey, we're going to do this. And this next thing is a new article. So this is the last page of the article. That's weird. Fighting for fun. But how good are these friends really if they won't even fight for you? Luckily, there are trinkets galore that'll bring you allies ready to lay down the hurt in all manner of surprising and hilarious ways. The tiny voodoo mask, the best loot a toy collector can find in the troll temple of Zulaman, summons 3 female gnomes in full tribal outfits to overpower your enemies. If their lightning bolts don't kill them, at least you can pick off players in PvP while they're busy laughing at your tiny tribal gnome army. If you're uncomfortable with the Black Arch, you might find it more comfortable to call upon 3 peasants to fight for you. With all the skill is suspected of untrained domestic servants, using the Barolf Peasant Caller trinket, you earn questing in Western Plaguelands. Maybe you should have kept that friend. For the raid jester, keeping people entertained and surprised, well, there's the plump turkey. This little guy is eager to be eaten. Bring him near a cooking fire, and he'll make a beeline for it, dive in, and turn into a roasted turkey ready to eat. I bet your raid chief didn't see that coming. Alternative to stinker. White smoke flares. You're not luring your raid mates to their death. You're testing to see if they remember which color flare they were supposed to run to. White or green. High-powered flashlight. Empty brew bottle. Using your own focusing lens is too obvious. You have to channel it, and it points right back at you. Instead, chuck these bottles at friends and foes for some flashy effects, like the snowball is another example. Toy train. Some uptight goody two shoes is going to smash. Sure, some uptight goody two shoes is going to smash it, but it'll take them a little while to find their train wrecker. Enjoy the mass train emotes and deafening choo-choo sounds before they do. The Piccolo of Flaming Fire is an alternative. Super Simian Sphere. What's that say? Gimme Orc. Whatever you are. Oh, I see. Gnome, orc, whatever you are. It's not as awesome as a gorilla in an undersized purple squishy ball. The transformation only lasts 5 minutes, but you're a party in a ball while it lasts. The Time Lost figurine. I have the Time Lost figurine. I don't think I have the Super Simian Sphere. It's like Super Monkey Ball, basically. Okay, cool. So, we got another episode in the pipe 5x5. I thank you so much, as always, for watching and for listening. And I'll just leave you with this dude's face as we log off. See you on the next episode of Lore of Warcraft. Peace out, guys.